Greetings, ladies and gents. WoW is in that holding pattern. We're coming to the end of Shadowlands and Dragonfly is somewhere on the horizon. So while we wait for the death of one and the birth of another expansion, let's take a look at what the community is up to. So let's get into it. Now granted, that intro may sound overly dramatic, but it does have a connection to this community spotlight video, I suppose, air quotations. When a WoW expansion gets to this stage of its life, most of the WoW development team is now focusing 100% on what's coming next, in this case, Dragonfly. They need desperately right now to get it out to alpha stage, then onto beta, just as soon as possible. But that means that for the rest of Shadowlands' existence, we're going to be getting scraps. And nowhere is that more apparent than the Season 4 KSM Mount. Now, it's only a minor thing. It's only a minor thing, but it does show that the development team is now busy on other things. Literally just the same as previous seasons, with a very minor recoloring. That's it. It has now, of course, recently changed to a glorious purple and gold version, which for my Warlock is now a must-have. But the one previous to this version, yeah, you can see it on the screen. I don't need to go over it. It was boring, dull, and it's nice Blizzard changed it. But between the announcement of the old KSM Mount and the changed new purple glorious version, the community came up with their own amazing takes on what a KSM Mount could look like. Now first up, we have such a simple idea. Covenant-themed Deathstalkers. Like, here's the thing. We have 4 Covenants. We have 4 seasons of Shadowlands. It's almost like they were made to go together. But even if you want to turn around and say, well, do you know what? You know, maybe they didn't know Season 4 was coming. Well, that's fine. Why not have one mount that can be 4? If you happen to be, let's say, Kyrian, the mount appears as Kyrian. You swap to Venthyr, so does the mount. That'd be awesome. Now, it doesn't need to be, granted, that complicated, because there's a lot of additions to this. You know, there's the Badraxi one, you've got the whole skeleton inside of it, you've got, like, there's a lot of work gone into this. What about if we're just simply recoloring? But can potentially tell a story at the same time? That would be cool. So here's another example, the Golden Deathwalker. Maybe it's been infused by the power of the light? It could have, let's say, wandered into the area in Revendreth that had been blasted by the light, you know, the scorched area. But rather than be destroyed, this Deathstalker has been infused by some way with the light. And then we have just absolutely mad levels of changes. Not necessarily just a simple recolor, but a recolor for each and every spec in the game. And then we could just get all of those and squish them together. Kind of the best way I could describe it, imagine a Deathstalker that had made sweet love to, well, any Corsair product, to be fair. Introducing the color-changing Deathstalker. Yeah, I'm gonna say, this mount I love. Like, it makes me sad that we are not going to be seeing it in-game. And that's kind of the bittersweet aspect of these community ideas. We have no bounds, no confines in what we can come up with in our minds. And I've sat here myself, and I've talked about the whole rise of the Black Empire and how it was done in-game and how I would have done it differently. But Blizzard have limitations in terms of time versus vision. They could have the most amazing, crazy idea, but there are timescales and they just can't meet that vision. We know the Blizzard team are amazing. The art team, doubly so. So all of these ideas are not beyond their vision. They simply don't have the time, resources, whatever it may be. It can make looking at these somewhat frustrating. The next set of ideas we're going to look at, Cuddles won't even look at for a second. Because there are a lot of ideas for the Elemental Shaman glyphs, and Cuddles just says, it makes her sad and frustrated. She can't use them in-game, they're not coming in-game, so yeah. It's just not even going to look. So yeah, with that depressing segue done, let's take a look at these amazing, and I do mean amazing, ideas for new glyphs in WoW. Now first up, an idea that kind of, I'm going to say as a side note, outside of glyphs, I wish they just add this. The idea that paladins can have a different visual effect. So, I don't know, Tauren paladins are much more sort of naturey, still fiery based, but naturey based looking abilities. You could have, I mean, hell, even if you just want to change the colour, have like a red gold kind of fiery effect for blood paladins, or even like give blood paladins the Ashen Hollow look. Why not? But I'm getting distracted. Back to glyphs. These look amazing. Different paladin avenging wrath wings for each paladin race. It looks so good. And not only would it be nice to get some new fun glyphs, but with the updates professions in Dragonfly, it would be nice, maybe Blizz, to add some glyphs back to give Inscription a bit more depth. They've said that this Dragonfly is going to be all about exploration. Then let us explore, let's discover these things. And next, and I will say this, Cuddles, look away now. Shaman Elementals. And this, if there was nothing else in any of this video that they would add to the game, please Blizzard, add the Fossil Elemental. Please. It's so good. Also, as a part-time Warlock player, could the same go for Warlock pets, that we can have more options? Well, that's the thing, I look at Hunters with a level of jealousy. I love the idea to be able to make my pet my own, which is meant to be the whole idea. Blizzard are going for this, hey, look and feel and be who you want to be in this world. We'll present the world to you. But it's up to you what you want to pick and choose and how you want to be in this world. But speaking of professions, we can see in the middle of this picture the Archaeology profession. And it would be great to see this revamped. I've done Archaeology in the past, as probably everybody has. You've given it a go, but it's just not fun. It's the best way I can put it. Maybe including these glyphs. I mean, revamp Archaeology just from ground up. It needs it. Maybe we could add new zones in, like Zordazar and that you could go into, and you could potentially get these fossils that you can use for your elemental. Or maybe your elemental is just normal, and you can adorn it with new bits of gear and armor and whatever else to make it look just yours. But let's go even further. Why not a food appearance for elementals? If your cooking skill is high enough, maybe like the cauldron in Shadowlands you could make a feast from, shamans could buy a pot. And from that pot they summon their food elemental. Or hell, a bottle of wine creates the wine elemental. And if you don't have that reagent, it's fine. You just summon a basic one, it's not a problem. And I'm not talking about, you know, the pot or the wine over being expensive, like 9 gold, 200 gold, 500 gold each, whatever. Just, it's mostly for flavour. That's why we're adding this. No pun intended for the food element, sorry about that. But why limit this to secondary professions? What about primary professions like blacksmithing? These fire-style elementals are awesome. It gives you a really nice new, funny enough, fire elemental, and a fancy blacksmith-worked earth elemental with golden bands around it, and just, yes. And you could have something like this with a lot of different professions. And I mentioned warlocks earlier. Why not custom void walkers? Yes, they've been done as well. Have something like, hell, I mean, if you don't want to go professions, go Warlock Questline. Add a new one in. Where you can customize. You know, you literally go into the nether and you find the creature you want to bind. And if you go through this long questline, I don't care how long it takes and what it is, how difficult it is, you can name your pet. Or you can, say not name your pet, but you could rotate through a list of names. You know, we're entering these different cosmic realms now. We're stretching out from sort of the fantasy of WoW into almost science fiction, where we're going with spaceships and different realms and cosmic powers and everything else. Why not have it that, I don't know, my Fel Demon, my Fel Guard, or my Void Walker can have a touch of shadow magic imbued into it. Or maybe touch of life, or time, and so on. We're entering the Dragon Isles. There's so many new and interesting and different powers that can be found there. And finally, because Blizzards have already made good inroads, what about some updated Druid Forms? Now, I will say, I don't like these as much as the previous ideas. It would be great if Druids could fully customize their Druid Forms. Similar to how Worgen or the upcoming Dragon King can customize both their, you know, creature form and their humanoid form. I mean, hell, even if you want, just allow Druids to customize their main form. Balance would be able to customize their chicken, and from that it would create a normal race form. Feral could do the same, but I will say I 100% approve of this one. The midlife crisis chicken, that's the one I'd roll, flat out. The idea that you could change your waist size is just, yes! I want to be able to make my fat goblin. I want my fat Gallywix goblin, please blizz. There is one more I want to share before we wrap this up, and that is the undead mechanome. Have we not reached a point where the undead can just be any race now? You know, we've killed enough of each other throughout Azeroth. There should be any number of bones that you want. And like pandas, why not have them cross-faction? Maybe with race still being tied to Horde or Alliance, or just say fudge it. You can be undead and then just pick whether you want to be Horde or Alliance. So you could have an undead mechanome like we see here, but they're affiliated with the Horde. And vice versa, you could have an undead Tauren that's able to go with the Alliance. That'd be an interesting way of getting races into other factions without actually having, look, they're orcs and night elves running around together, or however you'd want to do it. But that's enough from me. Please add more options like these, Blizzard. The vision behind a lot of the recent changes is let the player be what they want to be and look the way they want to look. So give us more options like these. It'd go a really long way to giving us that individual flavour. These are the things you should embrace in the community. I know the toxic assholes, the moaners, the whiners get all the press. That's what everybody sees. But these great creative ideas, that's the true bulk of the WoW community. Players that love the game and want to help you make the game as great as it can possibly be. But thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Ladies, everyone.